Hey, sorry for the interruption, but we wanted to let you know that this week's episode is brought to you by Spotify for Podcasters. Really cool app. Josiah and I use it for every single show that we bring to you every week. You can edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating as soon as you log into the platform. You can easily distribute your podcasts to Spotify and everywhere else the podcasts are heard, just like we do every single week. You can also create video podcasts on Spotify, which is really cool. And of course, you can earn money like I'm doing right now by including ads and even podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. There's no catch. We really love it. We use it every single week. So we encourage you to go download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. All right, let's get back to the show.
Radical! Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join the gnarly Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the totally tubular tools, advice, and strategies you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now on to this week's Totally Tubular show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 107 of the Print on Demand Cast. I should say just welcome back to Print on Demand Cast. Now there's 107 because it's the first time you've been here to episode 107. True. So welcome to episode 107 again of the Print on Demand Cast. As you can see, we're not in split screens here. We are in person, which happens once in millennia. Not really, but but yeah. So Travis is here in the person, and so we're here to record this episode and have a good time.
I just got to say, it's pretty telling when you like have a higher chair than me. And
I just noticed that. Right. Oh, you really got to try with this.
You know what?
Oh, this is the back one. It reclines.
I'm confident in my manhood and my heighthood. So
what okay, so this has a button for everything except like I can recline this, which is a game changer for the rest of the work week. There we go.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
okay.
And then we can just
tilt that down. Okay.
A little bit.
A little extra
a little extra
production value.
Yeah.
Or lack thereof.
You guys are welcome for all of it. Well, it is Tuesday. Usually we record on a Monday, but it was a holiday this last Monday, and you were camping. So tell us how was the excursion into the lake?
It was. We didn't actually do an excursion into the lake, but yeah, we camped at a lake called Lake Carter, which is kind of between Longmont and Loveland. And a gorgeous lake. We were actually up on this hill, and we had the whole panoramic view of the whole lake, and really, really beautiful campsite. Got a little microburst on Saturday as a storm passed by, or Friday rather, as a storm passed by, and we had to break everything down and freaked out for a little bit. But for the most part, like, we had an amazing time. It was great. You know, there's no fire ban, so we were able to have like a fire, you know, and smoked a couple cigars, had a few beers, had a little whiskey, enjoyed. It was just our family, so we had a lot of really great conversation, and had a paddleboard out there. We were on the lake, and actually brought a second paddleboard that I bought on Amazon, and as we were blowing it up, the seam popped, and so yeah, exactly. So we've got to return that, but it was still fun. We had a really great time. Brought our dogs out, and really fun weekend.
Nice.
Although Sunday, you know, or I mean, I'm sorry, today you've got that 3-day weekend, you know, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and we had one person call in and one other person that was taking a day, so we were light staffed today. It was quite the Monday on a Tuesday, so to speak. You know,
yeah, the Mondays on Tuesdays seem to definitely compensate for it not being on an actual Monday. In my experience, it seemed to be a little more intense.
How was your weekend?
Well, my weekend was great until Saturday. So let's see. Friday, had some dinner with friends for house sitting, which is why we're here in Megan and Jason's shop. And so house sitting, watching the dogs, working, and Thursday was great. Friday, woke up a little bit with a little bit, I should say, of discomfort in my right foot. Thought it was strange, but I was still able to walk on it. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe it'll go away. I don't care. I had dinner plans that night, so there wasn't going to be much that deterred me from going out. So I was like, it'll be fine. And went to a barbecue place here, close to here, had their brisket cheesesteak, which is the only thing I ever order there because it's delicious. Had a beer, then went to a brewery down like a block away, had a Bloody Mary, played some games. And then Saturday morning woke up and could not put any weight whatsoever on my right foot. Friday, I could kind of limp around by getting up while like at the top of my foot. You know what I mean? But Saturday it was a no-go. And so I've been dealing with a severe case of gout, I think. There's nothing else I would have done to really fracture. It feels exactly like a twisted ankle or a super bad sprain. Lots of swelling in similar places. So since Saturday, I've been dealing with that. So Sunday I finally got crutches. Yesterday was a pain. Today it feels better. I can usually tell through the night. The amount of discomfort that I experience will determine how much better it's gotten in the last day. But for those of you that don't really know what gout is, it's just a buildup of uric acid. It's kind of a form of arthritis, and it happens pretty frequently with people. But it's brought on, red meat, excess red meat, which I had a bunch of brisket and alcohol, had some drinks Friday night, definitely exacerbated the issue. And wearing tight shoes probably wasn't a great idea either as I was going out. So
you wear high heels, didn't you?
I did. It was good. It was good. My wife loves it when I do that.
Those things are killers.
Yeah, it's all a joke, by the way, people. Anyway, so that's what I've been dealing with and trying.
Cheers to you getting better. Oh, wait.
Yeah, can't have that yet. Gonna lay off of that for the last couple of days, which isn't incredibly difficult unless I'm recording a podcast or playing poker with you
or hanging out with me in any
form. In any capacity. So I'm hoping it gets better by Thursday. Have some plans this weekend that I would like to not have to cancel. But we will see what happens. It feels really weird to not be able to do anything around that, like help Madeline with anything. Because I'm like, can you do this? I'm like, listen, I can't. My leg is exhausted. Like my left leg is so tired from hopping, and you know what I mean. Like it's been ridiculous. So, and it's just frustrating. Like today, I needed to go to my apartment to pick up some stuff. It's like I don't want to do it by myself and go in with the crutches and navigate the stairs. And how do I hold things when I have? It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to be fully self-sufficient. And I've noticed today as I'm like looking around the guest room and like where I'm staying in Megan and Jason's room because their dogs can't not sleep on their bed.
Okay.
So I'm like looking around and like, man, I really need to like pick up a little bit, but I don't have the strength or the willpower to do anything besides try and lay on the couch and ice my foot. So that's been my holiday weekend.
Fun.
It's been a great time. I didn't do anything fun.
Killing me, Smalls.
Yeah, you're not kidding. It has not been a great time. I do not recommend at all. Don't try it.
1 star.
1 star. Don't do it. And I was telling Travis, like the hard part is that like when it heals, it's like, okay, well now avoid those things that trigger gout. I'm like, yeah, but red meat and beer is like 2 of my favorite things in the world. Right. So what the hell am I supposed to do?
You just suffer.
A pescatarian?
No, God, no.
I do not like fish.
Not a chance.
No, not
That's terrible.
That's incredibly accurate, Charles. So with that, I think it's a lot of waffle.
A lot of
waffle.
It was
good waffle.
Yeah. Let's give the people what they want, though.
Yeah, let's give them what they want with this week's point of interest.
Point of interest.
Every time.
I feel like we should have unmuted the mic so they could have heard us singing along with that beautiful ballad.
Yeah, we could have harmonized and made it even more beautiful. This week's point of interest, Travis, you brought to my attention the Amazon Health Dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, what does that even mean? What's a health dashboard?
Well, if you sell on Amazon, basically the health dashboard is the health of your account. And so it's something that any seller on Amazon should be aware of. And it tracks like everything from like how fast your packages actually get delivered to your customers. So if you're late, you get kind of knocks against your account. It handles all the IP notices, suspected intellectual property violations, which Amazon, the whole suspected, and don't get me started on that because it's just ridiculous. So it basically tracks the health of your account. I mean, it obviously Amazon Health Dashboard, you kind of figured that out. But what I heard actually from Uncle Mike, he was telling me that he's seen a new Amazon Health dashboard. So like in your account, you go to the Amazon Health and you have your dashboard and you have all that, and they're kind of revamping that. And it seems as though they're rolling it out kind of on a beta level, or, just with a few accounts,
a couple accounts.
Yeah. Just to see kind of what it's going to do. And they can, and it's changed the way kind of those strikes against your account are measured, I guess.
Okay.
So currently, if you go to your Amazon Health dashboard and you haven't been switched over to the new dashboard, you'll see kind of this green, yellow, red measure, like, kind of with an arrow, and it says something like healthy, at risk, and unhealthy, or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure because I can't log into my account right now and check, but and so you'd kind of know where you were at, and you can actually appeal these, and you should actually appeal these different IP. Even if you're in the wrong, you can still sometimes get those knocked off of your account, and it can help your health, help the health of your account, because you never know when one's going to come up. You can do all of the right things and have checked all of the trademark databases and all of that stuff, all of the copyright stuff. And then you have a product that's selling for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years, and somebody registers that as that phrase or whatever, and all of a sudden you get an intellectual property violation, and you had no idea because it was fine for 3 years, but now it's not.
Yeah.
And so you can all those trademarks and copyrights, they all have codes that are associated with them. So the code is associated with the type of product that copyright or that phrase that person has legal rights to. So, there's a different code for t-shirts than there are for coffee mugs. And so if you have like a coffee mug and someone files a trademark for the t-shirt, you're actually not technically violating them, but Amazon, honestly, for the longest time, they don't give a crap. Yeah. They just, if it's in there, they're going to strike against you. So you can appeal that, and you can say, hey, this is the wrong code, et cetera, and they'll come back and they'll give you a form and they'll say, sorry, too bad. And you just keep pushing, appealing, and eventually you can get those things knocked off. So that's a pro tip, by the way, if you are an Amazon seller. So they've changed this whole dashboard to not go from like green, yellow, red. They've changed it to a number score, and it's like 1 to 1,000. And so if you're under a certain number, and this is all theoretical because we don't really quite understand, Amazon is so left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. But if it's under a certain level, you can get an auto suspension. So your whole account just gets shut down. They keep your money. It's terrible.
It's terrifying.
But the cool thing is you can still kind of, even while it's suspended, you can still attack these intellectual property violations, these other things that are on your health dashboard, and you can raise that score. And the cool thing is that if you get it above a certain number, they automatically reinstate you. So it's kind of cool that, the reinstating part anyway. Yes. So I think ultimately it could be a lot more, I guess, predictable than the 3 levels of, because I know people that are like at risk and in the unhealthy and the red, they're still selling on Amazon. They still they're not suspended.
Sure.
And I also know people that are in the yellow that do get suspended. So it's kind of arbitrary.
Kind of arbitrary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds accurate.
Yeah.
Like you said, left hand not knowing what the right is doing.
Exactly.
But there is coming up next week, the Accelerate conference. It's an Amazon conference. It's in Seattle. It's also doing live kind of Zoom broadcasts. I don't know how they're really getting it out to the virtual audience, but you can register for free $99 if you have an Amazon seller account. So just Google Amazon Accelerate Conference. Don't Google just Accelerate Conference because you'll get something strange in Salt Lake. I don't know what that one is, and we do not co-sign it, okay? We don't know what you'll learn at that one, but at the Amazon Accelerate Conference, they will be shedding some additional light on this particular subject about the health dashboard. I think one of these sessions is actually dedicated to kind of unpacking what this exactly means. And so, I think hopefully by the time, next week or an episode down the road, maybe we can do a follow-up and kind of explain in detail for those of you that are selling on Amazon, even drop shipping on Amazon, whether it's, Printful's fulfilling for you, whoever. It's definitely good to know because it directly is tied to your ability to sell on Amazon. So you obviously want to keep your account health up, obviously. So, we should do a follow-up on that and see what exactly that looks like and what exactly it is.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, that session I think is like next Thursday.
Okay.
So a week from this Thursday, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but like right in the middle of the day. So like I think for me it's like 12:15 to 1:15 or something around that time. But I'm going to tune in. I know Uncle Mike is also going to tune in. We're going to kind of compare notes afterwards and just talk through some of the what we're gleaning from that talk. Because and there's obviously plenty of other. You can go look at the schedule if you just Google Amazon Accelerate Conference. And if you do have an account, you can sign up, and then you can see kind of the list of things that they're going to be talking about. And if something catches your eye, by all means, try to log in and get there. It's all free. So the actual event is sold out now, but you can watch, like we said, you can watch for free virtually. So yeah.
Sweet. Well, we will keep you guys abreast of this situation and let you know the developments. But we're going to go ahead and transition out of this and just go straight to our main event.
Ladies and gentlemen, the main event.
Perhaps not as many harmonies in that one.
No.
But still, if
you...
you...
Ed Sullivan.
Yeah.
Ed Sullivan show. You know? Speaking of that, have you watched the new Elvis movie yet?
I have not.
It's on HBO Max now. Don't know if you have that, but it's there.
I think I do via my daughter.
Sweet. Well, that's why you have kids.
Yeah.
See? It's a good movie. That Ed Sullivan thing just reminded me of that. Anyway, for this week's main event, you guys, know what time it is. It happens every year. And we have to ask the same question. Are you ready for Q4? Because Q4 is here.
Emotional damage.
And so whether you realize it or not, it's upon you. And so every year on the Print on Demand cast, we like to do our best to make sure that you are aware of what you need to be aware of heading into Q4. If this is your first Q4 listening to us, this information will be new to you. If you've been listening since the beginning, this information will be some repeat, some new stuff in there, obviously, because we continue to grow and learn as we go through our own Q4s here on the Print on Demand cast. But this is stuff that you can kind of glean from. It's stuff that can kind of be applicable, I think, regardless of if you're doing production in-house or whether you're doing drop shipping or whatever your business model looks like. Just some stuff to maybe keep aware of. There's definitely something in this list that will apply to you. So maybe listen to it again, go back. I'm saying that before we even talk about it. I don't know how good this quality is going to be. I'm just telling you, go back and listen to it again. Pull a Fiona, listen to it 3 times. So the annual Q4 checklist. Number 1, order flow. Do you have a good system for processing orders? Now is the time to really kind of take a granular look at what that system looks like while it's September 1, first week of
Yeah.
September. Because if you wait to see if it will hold, will hold the capacity when you get to November and December, odds are something's going to break.
Yep.
And you're going to have to or circle back and try and, put the fingers in the holes of the ship as water is coming on. And so it's better now to really, try and break whatever system that you have.
Yeah. I remember when I was in youth ministry years ago, there was this pastor, and I think I told the same story a year ago on our checklist, but I remember him saying something that really kind of has stuck with me all these years. And I used it in youth ministry, and I've used it in every business I've been a part of. And he said, basically, don't build for where you are now, build for where you want to be. And I feel like that's kind of a theme on the Print on Demand cast. We are always talking about building for what you want to be. That's the whole scaling idea of this whole thing. But it's never more important than it is in November and December. Because you're going to be in a different place in November and December if you're in e-commerce. Yeah. It's different than September. It's different than July. It's different than Mother's Day. All of those holidays are dwarfed in comparison with Christmas and Hanukkah and, all of the December holidays, the gift giving holidays. Yeah. And so if you're not building for that right now, you're building for failure or at least pain.
Sure. It's going to be self-inflicted. Whatever you encounter, if you don't do that, is partially self-inflicted, I would think. Right. We have an episode in the archives. Episode 16 talks about order flow more in depth. You can avail yourself of that in the archives if you have not already. One thing to also keep in mind is custom orders. We've talked a lot on this show about how customizability is a huge thing amongst people, especially when it comes to gift giving. Yeah. Because they're able to give their loved ones something that doesn't exist for anyone else. It has their name on it, or their family's name, or their picture, or their dog's picture, or whatever. There's going to be some custom orders that you will get if you are offering that service on your platform. So a couple of things you have to ask yourself is how is the art being collected? You got to figure out a very efficient way for art to be able to get to the production team, whether it's in-house or whether it's elsewhere, to make sure that that's going to be accurate, because there's nothing worse than sending the wrong personalized product to somebody.
With that deadline looming of Christmas.
Yes, and they show up and the template says your last name here, and then they get the sign and it literally says your last name here because the production person thought the art or didn't have the art. Right. Like, I've experienced that. And how furious people are because Grandma Jill isn't going to get her customized wooden sign. So you got to make sure that there's a streamlined process for that.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I think a lot of our listeners are probably, if you're doing custom, you're probably doing custom on Etsy. And most of that is unfortunately a manual process. It's an email back and forth. You might get everything you need in the initial order. And if you do, that's great. But if not, there is kind of a back and forth. But even if you do get all the information, you still got to type that into the template. You got to make sure that, it's spelled right, everything, and so it might be a time to, invest in a virtual assistant that can help you with this. Because if you're normally getting 1 to 2, custom items a day, right, all of a sudden in Q4, that could be 10, 15. In a day. And so there's just a lot more. And if you have a regular 9 to 5, you're going to work, that can start piling on itself, and so it might be a good time to invest in looking into perhaps a virtual assistant to help you. You can get a virtual assistant to help you just a few hours a day. You don't have to pay them 40 hours a week. Right. And you can get a virtual assistant from anywhere. And we've talked about this ad nauseum on in other episodes, but you can get them from anywhere from $3 to $5, $6. Something simple like just type this into a template every time and send it to this person, or email this person this thing if they didn't actually attach it or whatever, and this and then when you get it back, type it into the template. There's some pretty easy kind of standard operating procedures, basically a list of things to do when these custom orders come in that you can create and hand off to somebody. So it's getting done even when you're at your 9 to 5. Yeah. But that's something that you really need to consider, particularly if you're doing custom orders. I mean, it's a lot easier when everything's just, standardized.
Sure.
And it's not custom and it just comes in and it goes out, But when you're doing custom, that's something that you need to think about because your volume will increase in Q4.
Yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm. The next thing you want to think about is pricing. Are you considering or taking into consideration the rising cost of goods? You are not a stranger to the thought of inflation. Should you be living in the United States?
Right.
It is very prevalent, and it has caused a ripple effect and a rise of everything as far as the cost. And so those need to be reflected in your pricing. The good thing is, that we have found in the past is that it's a good idea just to raise your prices anyway during Q4 because people will pay more for that gift, that mug, that shirt, that sign that they want to give on Christmas. There's a few times in people's lives when they have no regard for the financial cost of what's happening, and it's mainly Christmas and weddings. They really don't care. So raise that price a little bit, see if you can get a little bit more just for that season. I know you've done that in the past before as well. But in a more practical way, you do need to probably now, while we're kind of seeing the storm coming, analyze what that cost of goods are, the cost of goods are, the rising cost of shipping, and making sure that it's reflected in your pricing so that you're not going through Q4 thinking that you're smashing it. It's just, man, no, I can't believe all the money, all the sales. It's amazing. And then when you look back and you do all of your accounting and dot the I's and cross the T's, you're now making much less than you thought because you didn't consider how much more expensive everything is.
Yeah, I remember back when we were first starting with coffee mugs, 11-ounce coffee mugs was what I actually started printing with. And I remember you could ship them pretty much anywhere in the United States for $4.50 or less, first class. And now, I'm sending first class for $5.60, $5.75. For an 11-ounce coffee mug, that's a significant portion of my profit, and so are you considering that, or have you gone through and actually looked at what these things are costing? I'll bet if you are fulfilling through somebody else, your prices have gone up this year, 100%. Yet you still got those, people on Amazon that are selling for $10.99, and it's like, what are you freaking doing, you morons? But the point remains, like, look at your actual costs, take the time now in September to really, really dial that in, understand what you need to make that, 20 to 30% margin on your products, and make a plan to roll that out in the next few months so you can take advantage of the buying season that is, November, Black Friday really is kind of when it really starts taking off crazy. It does accelerate through November, through, because people do buy early and such. But really, once you hit that Black Friday, and then from like the 5th to the 15th, even up to if you can get it there in time, if your listings are saying that you can actually get it there in time, even up to the 20th, it'll blow Black Friday away. And so you want to make sure that your prices are where you want it to be, because like you just said, you don't want to look back and go, man, I sold more than I did last year, but I made less.
That's never where you want to be. And it's a very sobering place to be when you actually realize that. The next thing would be, are you tracking your orders? And I'm not necessarily talking about tracking information to the customer, because a lot of that is outside of your control. Be prepared for a lot of that where you're like, where the hell did it go? USPS completely lost it. It's in God's hands now. You just have to pray and hope that it manifests wherever it was supposed to go. What we're talking about is keeping track of what is selling and how much of it is selling. Not only necessarily, of course, design-wise, product-wise, but also keeping in mind materials-wise. How much bubble wrap did you go through? How many mug boxes did you go through? How many T-shirt blanks did you move through? The reason is in both of those cases, if you do that, you'll have a leg up on the process next Q4 because you
Right.
have some data to base your decisions off of. If this is your first Q4, it is pretty hard to try and gauge what exactly you will and will not sell through. You don't want to have too little, you don't want to have too much,
Right.
and usually you try and buy somewhere in the middle. And at the end of the year, you probably erred on one side or the other and still ran out or had excess. It's just typically how it usually goes for Q4.
Yeah.
So the best way to hedge those bets and kind of protect yourself is just to document how much of what is selling. And of course, on Amazon and Etsy and stuff, there's reports you can pull to find that kind of stuff out. But it's just it's really important so that you give yourself a little bit of a break. Future you will thank past you if you have that consideration.
Now I'll say, we talk about this all the time. Spreadsheets, are going to be your friend here. And sorry, not sorry. That's just kind of the way it is. But even then, even with spreadsheets, there's still room for kind of mistakes, or maybe not mistakes, but just oversights. Yeah. And so for example, I just wanted to tell this story. We fulfill for, some pretty big customers, and Uncle Mike is one of our people. And my Uncle Mike is like a spreadsheet genius. He keeps track of all. So we actually were really fortunate to have access to his like previous Q4s. And we continue to, but so last year we looked at all of these his Q4 numbers from the year before, and we decided, okay, we don't want to have to depend on the supply chain, which, as if you've sold for a couple of years, Q4 can get crazy with COVID and all of that. It's been really challenging. And so last year we were like, okay, in September, let's look at what he sold, in November, December, and January, and let's order, like all of that.
Yeah.
Basically all of the, the boxes, the bubble, like you say, the bubble wrap, the blank t-shirts, the blank mugs, all of these things. And he had a down year. And we still use some of that stuff for other customers, but at the end of the year, or at the end of, kind of January, we still had boxes upon boxes of, one was camping mugs. He sold a crap ton of camping mugs in 2020, not so much in 2021. We're finally in September, we finally had to order new camping mugs.
Nice.
So I guess what I'm saying is don't beat yourself up if you're tracking these things and you miss it.
Sure.
It's okay. You'll eventually sell through that stuff. You'll eventually use all of that stuff. It might be cash kind of tied up for you, but it's more important that I would rather overbuy than underbuy. Yeah. I think that's kind of the moral of the story. We overbought, and like I said, our cash was tied up, but eventually we got through it all. Yeah. We moved it all. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to look at last year, and we actually have a meeting, I think either tomorrow or Thursday of this week, where we're talking about all that stuff so we can put our orders in and, kind of prepare for the storm that's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. So spreadsheets always comes back to spreadsheets.
You're killing me, Smalls.
So the next item on the list, if you're doing fulfillment, and we kind of touched on this in the last point, but do you have enough product or shipping supplies? Now, typically, don't quote us, Uline is doing free shipping for the month of September. So now would be a perfect time to put in those orders, save on the shipping, and have your stuff there. Even if you're not going to really break into it until November, December, doesn't matter. The savings on shipping is probably a good enough motivation for you to make that order. So if you don't have enough, what are your systems for ordering before you run out? Which I think is a lesson that has to be learned the hard way.
Oh my gosh. In 2020, I was running all over the city of Denver trying to find bubble wrap because our main supplier had run out. We didn't pre-buy and we didn't have it on the floor. Now, 2021, we did. We had them stock it all for us on the floor, and we were just pulling it as we needed it. But in 2020, I learned the hard way. I bought bubble wrap from Walmart at one point.
For way too much money.
Yes, for way too much money. I was just going off, I was calling, making phone calls. I was driving all over the place trying to find bubble wrap. So make sure that you're stocked up. And that goes back to our previous point. Hopefully you have some type of forecast for what you're going to sell.
Right. And then, if something happens, having backups of those things, I think, not only in shipping supply, but if you're doing production in-house, like machines, like be sure you have some kind of contingency. If something were to happen to a machine, if it were to go down, God forbid, what are you going to do that would remedy the downtime with that machine not being active? And then like Travis said, pre-buying for supplies. So you have those backups if you're running out of, or you use bubble wrap more quickly than you thought you would, or whatever that looks like. There's always something. Having backups is better. It's better to have than to have not. It's kind of the moral of the story.
We used to kind of be each other's backups for for coffee mugs and for inks and things like
lots of different calls. Like, hey, do you have a case of mugs I can use? Or hey, do you have ink we can borrow?
And now I don't have that thing to fall back on, so I've got to I have to be even more diligent. To make sure that we have everything that we need. And not come in on a Monday and go, oh my gosh, we only have five cases of mugs,
right?
And it's going to take a week for them to get here, and we sold 5 cases of mugs over the weekend.
Then you're screwed. And that's not a good place to be. Next on the list would be maximize your assets. Now, this is something that's different that we added to this year's checklist as opposed to last year's. But we've talked a lot about this on the show as well, where if you're designing t-shirts and you've got, 1,000 t-shirts, 2,000 t-shirts on your platform,
heck, 100
t-shirts, 200 t-shirts, doesn't have to be that high. If you have those designs, those are assets that you can use. Now, not all of them will translate depending on what they are, but the majority of them you can use on mugs, on home decor, on signs, on pillowcases, on tea towels, you have all of these assets. And so you can take the ones that are selling the best and repurpose them on different items and make more money off of something that you already paid once to be created. And it's probably paid for itself already. So then you're just making more profit off of that one asset. And using random stuff. I know I mentioned home decor, but you can do ornaments or like stickers, pop sockets, key, all those types of things.
We're talking about Christmas, so why not have maybe have a couple of ornaments. Find some places that you can do ornaments. Ornaments do super incredible in November and December.
They do.
And then, like you say, the stickers, pop socks, stocking stuffers. That's what people are going to look for. That maybe a little closer to Christmas, but as they're kind of filling out, you've got a budget for $250 for Joe, your kid, or whatever, and you've only got to 200. Well, you got to find. There's something in our brain that makes us spend that extra 50.
Got to find all the tchotchke shit to put in our stockings.
And so take advantage of that as a provider. Make sure that your products or your product selection has some higher value items and some lower value items, so you can kind of capture all those types of buyers, because all of those types of buyers are coming to your store. They'll be there. They're searching on Etsy. They're searching on Amazon. They're searching on Walmart. And you want to be in a position where you can capitalize on those buyers.
100%. Often I think there's a sentiment of like, well, no one's going to search for that. No one's going to buy a snail with a shell of pancakes with syrup on it. No one's going to buy anything. No one's going to buy a tea towel with that on it. Well, my wife sold
you're wrong,
25 of them. And it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I would have told her no one's going to buy that, but she did it, and she was right. So there's always going to be, you never know. Someone's a principal of when I was in college for acting, they always told us, regardless of what role you are on stage, understand that there is always someone watching you. To communicate to us to always be in character, always be in the moment. Don't be, messing around and breaking the fourth wall, whatever. So if I had to say anything, someone's always searching for the crazy stuff.
You're right.
For the stuff that you're offering that you think someone is always searching for that. So don't be discouraged. Throw it out there. See what happens.
And the other thing that as you're building out these other pieces, and it's not something we actually wrote down, but it's probably its own point, but that's okay. I think it can also kind of go along with this. Advertising, as you were talking about like someone's always searching for the crazy stuff. Someone is always punching in way too many search terms. and hopefully maybe somehow if you do on Amazon, you can do sponsored ads and you can do an automatic and and maybe you get like a super, super long tail thing that you spent 10 cents on to actually place it on the page for snail syrup, or whatever, and you're the only person that's advertising towards snail syrup. So you're probably going to get the sale.
Yeah.
So advertising can also kind of, maybe a low cost, more of an automatic style of advertising, particularly on Amazon. You can get a lot of that long tail traffic to your listing, and maybe you're the only one that's actually showing up for it. So why not do it?
Give it a shot. You really, the worst case scenario is you're out the advertising money, but best case scenario is you sell and then move.
Mm-hmm.
So next, talking about best sellers, let's talk about, do you have a backup supplier for your best sellers? If you're not doing production in-house, if you're doing drop shipping, and you have it through Printful, or there's so many of them.
Make Your Mark
Designs. You should have them through. But the question is, do you have a backup supplier for your best sellers? Because there could be, and probably will be, a scenario where your preferred vendor or your preferred supplier is out of stock with that particular size, color, whatever that variation might be. If they're out of stock of that thing, who is going to fulfill that order for your customer?
Definitely happened in 2020.
Yeah, for sure.
Somewhat happened in 2021. But yeah, maybe that seller didn't have all the mugs that they needed.
Right.
Pointing at myself right now, so who are you going to have as a backup supplier? There were a lot of stockouts in 2020, and we're still hearing, kind of in the e-commerce space, that there's still going to be supply chain issues coming into with apparel, particularly coming into this Q4, and hopefully we're kind of through most of the storm for that particular issue. But it could happen. Yeah. And so who do you have as a backup supplier? What happens if all of a sudden your supplier runs out of coffee mugs? Do you have somebody? Right now is the time to make sure that you have somebody.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be Make Your Mark Design. It can be anybody, but make sure that it's not just, I can just Google at the time and figure it out. No, make a plan right now. Yeah. Sign up for that account, maybe even do a test order from that account, just so you know that when, push comes to shove, you do have a backup.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you don't want to learn this lesson the hard way.
Yeah.
You're going to learn today.
So moving on, again, bestsellers, it all kind of ties in together. Mm-hmm. But have you considered, with your bestsellers, doing FBA, fulfillment by Amazon, or WFM, Walmart? What is it? Walmart
fulfillment, WFS. Typo.
WFS, you say?
Walmart fulfillment services.
Walmart fulfillment services. All right. Yeah. So basically, it's essentially FBA for Walmart sellers is what we're talking about.
Right.
But it's a good way to kind of, again, if you have the data from the previous Q4 and you know it is sold well, or you have a good track record of the last handful of months, if this is your first Q4 and it's your best seller, and you figure, well, okay, we've done this much a month, so maybe multiply that by a multiple of 2.5 or whatever. You can send those best sellers into FBA to Amazon or to Walmart, and then they'll show up with the Prime list, the Prime badge on it, and they will fulfill it for you. And that does take a lot of the load off of yourself, because all of those orders that would have come into you for you to fulfill by X date, and you have to do it all in-house or what have you, you can then just relax because Amazon won't be fulfilling those. And you can be making another order to send in to FBA or WFS or what have you.
Yeah, we do FBA every other week. We run reports. I have an actual VA that runs all these reports.
Right.
We look at everything and we say, how much stock do we have? How much do we anticipate selling? And we create a list of FBA products that we then make and send into Amazon. Obviously, we do that on a much larger scale coming into Q4. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about this week in that Q4 meeting.
Sure.
Like, what do we want to do? And we are looking at our previous year's sales data to determine what we're going to do. And one thing that you may or may not know is that FBA products sell 2 times to 3 times more than just regular merchant fulfilled products. So the more you know. So, in other words, if you have, 100 listings of merchant fulfilled, let's just go with t-shirts.
Sure.
Or, well, let's go with coffee mugs because those are a little easier.
T-shirts are hard.
T-shirts are a pain in the butt in FBA because you have to consider size and you have to consider color.
Yeah.
But coffee mug, it's just a one product, maybe it's two, maybe you have an 11 and a 15, but you can have an 11 that's FBA and you can have a 15 that's merchant fulfilled because for whatever reason, the 11 sells better because maybe it's cheaper or whatever. The point is that if you are Prime, if you're selling with the Prime badge, a lot of people just go to Amazon. They'll say, only show me the Prime because I want to get it in 2 days.
Yeah.
And so and especially when you get closer and closer to Christmas, that is a big, big feather in your cap.
Yeah.
And so you all of a sudden become way more attractive to these buyers. And so you can actually have an FBA listing for your 11 ounce, an FBM listing for your 11 ounce, an FBA listing for your 15 ounce, and an FBM listing for your. And so when you sell out, you're still not out of it.
Yeah.
You still have your FBM listing there. But that's a pro tip right there.
Yeah.
If you haven't considered that, and Walmart fulfillment service is very similar to FBA.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would highly recommend you consider and jump through whatever hoops you need to at least send a case of those coffee mugs to FBA, of your bestseller, because I almost guarantee they'll sell out.
Yep.
Almost guarantee it. If they're selling now, they have a track record on Amazon. Amazon's going to put them there. Then you couple that with, some 10-cent advertising for that particular product. Boom, it's gone. So highly consider that. That is probably my number one tip to anyone who's already currently selling on Amazon.
Yeah.
Or Walmart for that matter.
And you can go in the archives of episode 6, sellingonamazon.com, to learn more about that process, what that might look like, to get that FBA shipment sent in. The last thing we want to talk about on the list is everyone's least favorite thing to talk about.
Emotional damage.
Do you have your bookkeeping figured out? Again, we've talked about cost of goods. We've talked about overhead expenses and all those other things that you don't think about. If you're doing production yourself, staff, or even if you have VAs, those expenses of paying them, overhead expensive, cost of expenses, cost of goods, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Talk to a CPA before the end of the year.
For sure.
For sure. Like we've said, now is probably a borderline too late. You need to be doing this very soon. Just to get an idea as you go into Q4, how you can be reporting things or what they're going to be looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, they'll give you advice how to structure some stuff, or, go through QuickBooks with you or reconcile what you already have. Whatever that looks like, it's well worth your money to do that for sure.
I would also say, on the whole talk to CPA before the end of the year point, even though December is like a crazy busy time, I would highly, 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 highly recommend you schedule something for, maybe the 15th or the 20th or sometime in there. So if you have made a profit with your business, and hopefully by then you'll know if you have, maybe there's, something that you can get a write-off on. Maybe there's a piece of equipment you can buy. Maybe there's some things that you haven't considered, and you need to actually make that purchase before the end of the calendar year for it to actually defer some of, or actually decrease, your profits to where you don't have to pay as many taxes. And that's what we all want. We don't want to pay taxes. So that's another gold nugget. Absolutely schedule something with a CPA before the end of the year and just go in and say, hey, here's my situation. Here's, how much I've made and how much I feel like I'm going to make for the rest of the year. How can I take advantage of some tax savings? And that, who wants to pay more taxes?
Yeah. Who is that person? Find me and you show me the person who wants to pay more in taxes, and I will show you a liar.
Mm-hmm.
Good, sir. Okay.
So you get nothing.
Yeah, it seems to be what their strategy is.
Yeah, seems that way. Paying for lots of stuff.
89,000 more IRS agents. And
so that's great. It's exciting. Tax money well spent.
All right.
So, so, a lot of this too, I think, was learned during 2020, right?
Yep.
During a lot of the the COVID era stuff and all that kind of stuff. So
Yep.
it's is what it is, I suppose.
Yeah. I remember back. Do you remember like when first the lockdowns happened and everybody was like trying to figure out what the heck to do? And
Yeah, we're all
I
bored
remember,
out of our minds.
yeah, I know. And so I remember going, I went to Walmart and I got a puzzle, and it's actually hilarious that you bring that up because we actually finished the puzzle just here recently. I was very excited because I was really proud of myself actually, because on the box it said 3 to 5 years and it only took us 2 years.
Time for the weekly dad joke.
You guys think we're gonna forget it every time? I know you do. You heard last point and you're like, wait a second, where's the horrible groan-inducing dad joke? There you have it. Use it at your parties. Let us know how it goes over and how many eye rolls that you get. Anything else before we wrap up the episode and in context to the main event topic?
Yeah, I just reiterate, now is the time. I think last year, I don't remember what year. See if you can click on that. What time did we do that last year? We did it
October.
Yeah, in October. So you're welcome.
Print on Demand Cast, Universe,
Metaverse.
Metaverse. Yikes.
Yeah, it's so important. You really need to consider what's about to happen in your business because it's going to 4 to 5x. I almost guarantee it.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. That's super exciting. But what does that mean for you and your sanity in kind of, we were actually talking about, so you're now selling insurance,
yes.
Josiah, and you've been in e-commerce for 5-6 years. And you were telling me about a trip that you're planning on taking in December. And it's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
You could have never done that in any other year until now.
Yeah.
Because you're not in the day-to-day grind.
Yeah.
So it's going to take up a lot of your time. And you just need to know that before you go into it and plan for that.
Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that because I think Jason and I, my father-in-law, were talking, a couple of weeks ago. And we both we're talking about holiday plans because we like to go to a play. We're here this year for Christmas. Last year in Wyoming. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about plans. And someone mentions like going to Indiana for something, and Jason and I both looked at each other, and at the same time we're like, we can actually do that.
We can do that.
That's crazy because it was either one or the other of us was getting the ability to go somewhere, or most often or not, it was both of us staying here. So that's funny you say that because it's very true.
It's very true.
So, well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that this was helpful for you. Let us know if it was helpful. And the best way to do that, of course, is to join the Facebook group, printondemancast.com/Facebook. Post in the group. If you have a point of preparation that you think, we should have hit, we had, maybe we had points, A through G, but you have preparation H, let us know. And we can go ahead and cover that on the next show for you guys. And
I don't want to cover Preparation H on the next show, Josiah. That's a solo show, pal.
We'll have them on. Well, you'll be the guest, and you can tell us all about Preparation H and how, on the whole, you feel good about it.
That's the worst. Oh,
anyway, so let us know.
Live to tape, baby. Live to tape.
Let us know what you guys are thinking. If this was helpful for you guys, printondemancast.com/Facebook is the best way to do that. And of course, wherever there are podcasts, the Podcast is there for your listening pleasure. And if you happen to be listening on the Apple Podcast app, please leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the show, your favorite dad joke, your favorite piece of information, whatever it is that you want to tell us, but that helps the algorithms and helps us get in front of the right people who need this information, much like yourselves. So anything else, Travis, before we send it on?
I think you just finalized it with your little soliloquy there.
As always.
Loved it.
All right. Well, for Travis, I'm Josiah. We'll see you next time right here on the Print on Demand Cast.
See ya.
Hey, babe. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular Show. If you've got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.
Preparation H doesn't sponsor this show.
Well, they should after that.